Okay, so guys, we are in the chapter work and economic life. And in the previous session, we discussed how work evolved from primitive societies to agrarian and then capitalist societies. We have seen the social organization of work in different societies, right? So hunter gathering and then feudal society and then the capitalism and the post-industrialism. We have seen the social organization of work and we understood that in terms of different dimensions, right? In terms of power, in terms of alienation, in terms of mobility, in terms of different strata. So multiple dimensions we have taken. So from community, we have seen how it came to factory model, from family units, how it became formal organizations, and from simple task to complex specialization, from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity, from low alienation to high alienation, from low avenues of social mobility to higher avenues of social mobility. So this is what we have seen, right? We compared traditional and modern societies. And today, what we are going to do is we are going to focus on the modern transformation of work, where capitalism, technology, and the management practices, and of course, globalization have fundamentally restructured the entire labor processes, right? So, what are things I'm planning to cover in this session is see if they want to innovate UPSC. The only question that I'm actually expecting is social organization of work in in the different societies is what we are normally expecting. Just 1 minute, guys. There is a so the question that you can actually expect, maybe 20 marker, is social organization of work in different societies, or specifically they will ask you social organization in feudal capitalism as a 10 marker. So this is what normally you expect, but if they want to innovate, they can ask you more. So in the previous session also I've mentioned about Taylorism, right? Scientific management. So here we will cover again that I can briefly mention, and then Braverman's critique, and then managerial revolution, capitalist work organization and the growth of professional managers, changes in control of production, and new organizational forms in modern society. So especially the last one, the new organizational forms in modern societies that they can ask, if they want to, as a 10 marker also. So all these I have given in detail in our PDF, and in the actual class also we have covered in depth. So here we will be going with a revision. So I'll quickly cover this. Let's start with Taylorism, the scientific management, right? Let's decode, what is it all about? What is scientific management? That's actually a theory introduced by F.W. Taylor. And the objective is basically to maximize efficiency and reduce waste. Ultimately, when you are talking about increasing efficiency, means you are reducing time or reducing waste. And the approach is scientific study of workflows. And the method used is like time motion studies, standardization of tools and procedures, and then the close managerial supervision and fragmentation of tasks, which is nothing but division of labor. Now, why the question is now why this is relevant sociologically, right? Because that concept, the scientific management actually converted skill to measurable units, work to mechanical routine, and labor, which is easily replaceable component. It became easily replaceable component. And sociologically, when we see it directly connect to the themes that we discussed, like alienation, de-skilling, worker power, and capitalist control over labor, right? So alienation from the product, process, fellow worker, from self, all these will be higher in this case. So that's why sociologically it is relevant. Now, we can also give a criticism of scientific management by Harry Braverman. See, in this book, his classic book, Labor and Monopoly Capital, the degradation of work in the 20th century. It's not necessary that you need to remember the name, and the book name and everything, because it's slightly difficult. And if this is asked by any chance or somewhere, if you need to write Braverman criticism, that's it. That's what you need to know. Just like when we get a question on suicide, we talk about Atkinson criticism. Like that, you should be in a position to write. Okay. So the key points here is scientific management strengthens capitalist domination because knowledge shift from worker to management. Control over the labor process will actually increase and alienation will increase. So that lead to de-skilling of workers, right? So the complex task is broken into small repetitive tasks. Now, this is going to be very higher when we are dominated with AI now. Anything which is repetitive will be taken care by AI. right? So the complex task is now broken into small repetitive tasks, and the skilled labor who could have produced everything is now losing its autonomy, and that lead to alienation. So the labor becomes more replaceable, right? See, I don't want expert. Now, if I want to develop an app, right, for coding, programming, I don't want any coder or a programmer. I can get that done with the best of the AI tools, and physical things only I need to do. So I that's what de-skilling and skill is not required now, especially in the present context that the beginning was there. Now, alienation also increases, right? The worker lose sense of creativity and work become monotonous, mechanical. You're doing this repetitive task every day, the same thing. Compartmentalization is also there. And see, there is a separation of conception and execution. Management does the planning and worker only execute the commands. So workers don't have any role here. That's very important, right? And then that leads to disempowerment of labor. But ultimately, that's the goal and aim of capitalism anyway. So that is one of the most important sociological critique of modern industrial work. So if you get a question on modern industrial work, you talk about Taylorism, the concept of scientific management, that's positives, and how it lead to all these issues. You can talk about alienation, de-skilling, right? And then workers' power is losing, capitalist control over labor, separation of conception and execution. All these you can, capitalist domination is actually getting strengthened. All these you can mention. Now, James Burnham, the managerial revolution. So he argued that a new class have emerged. What is that class? Which is very much evident, visible, a middle class, which is between capitalist and workers, not capitalist, not workers. There's a managerial class, right? So here people are trained in management, trained in finance, administration, engineering. So now these guys have started controlling the production. It's not completely controlled by capitalist nor the worker. Now these guys who are standing in between the middle, they are controlling everything. So you can see earlier ownership and control was together. Owners were controlling everything earlier, right? In capitalist system. Non-ownership means they are the workers. But now ownership and control separated. Control is done by these managers, the middle people. Ownership is with the top level capitalists. Now the shareholders are the owners, managers, they control the operation. So that is a new change which we can see, which you need to mention, right? And this is a major shift which you see in the post-industrial society or the capitalist society, and the growth of large corporation, MNCs, right, that require professional managers, because decision making have moved from families to bureaucratic executives. There is a chain of command, right? So that's how it has been taken care. And then you can also mention professionalization of management. So the business schools, the MBA culture, training in accounting, finance, marketing, and work becomes more like bureaucratized. You perform these tasks, right? And there is a chain of command also that has to be followed in any organization, if you see. Now, I told you already, the control and ownership is now different. So this is a point which you can mention, that the changing nature of ownership in capitalism. Earlier, we understood everything in terms of ownership and non-ownership. Ownership to the means of production or forces of production, and non-ownership. Capitalists are the owners, workers are not the owners. The relation is ownership and non-ownership. Now, capitalism slowly changed from owner controlled to manager controlled. So the investors, they have the shares, right? But managers runs the corporations. Apart from that, it is not the one single capitalist. There are multiple shareholders. Reliance, I have the share, right? So I'm also having that ownership to the extent of shareholding that I have. So there is a diffusion also, you can see, and managers runs these kind of big corporations, and ownership becomes dispersed. So you can buy one share, so that means you have that ownership, right? So it is not that one single person is controlling everything. Even if you want to have share on TCS, you can buy and you'll get that ownership to the extent of shareholding that you have. So now control becomes concentrated in managerial elites. Shareholders are different, right? It could be pension funds, it could be insurance companies, it could be banks, it could be you, it could be me, multiple. That is what I mean by diffused or dispersed. That will be the best word to use. So here what happens, the power shift from capitalists to managers, right? They are the ones who's taking the decisions also. Now, what are the global shift in the work organization? There are new forms of work emerging. Service sector boom, IT and digital labor, platform-based work, gig economy, and then automation and AI. flexible production, work from home, right? Especially after COVID, and remote virtual workspaces, and all these you can see, and then rationalization of work, maximizing the efficiency, the standardization, the procedures which are replacing the tradition, bureaucratic control, chain of commands, hierarchy, predictability and control, the Weberian concept of bureaucracy. That's what I mean by rationalization. Whenever you see, I'm referring to Weber, right? Increasing efficiency, standardization, etc. And then even in industrial societies, there are some kind of informalization. Still, there are contract jobs. Not everything is like permanent or bureaucratized, right? Contract jobs are there, outsourcing is there, and that means there is no job security. Contract jobs, at least to that extent, you have the contract, there is job security, outsourcing, and then mostly fragmented work relation. Population is high, organic solidarity, get the things done and leave it. There is no collective conscience, right? So fragmented work relation. Now, we can link few sociological concept also here with the modern work. See, I'm talking about modern work. I've discussed multiple scenarios and situations with the modern work, right? So traditional work and modern work, we are differentiating. See, first one, market rationality. Work is increasingly shaped by global competition and the market logic. Now, there is nothing like familial obligation or personal obligation or anything. It is ultimately competition and the market logic, the global competition, especially after globalization. Decline of community, decline of collective conscience, mechanical to organic solidarity. So people move for work, the kinship-based organization of work disappeared, right? The family kind of setup is no more there. Bureaucratic setup is emerging. Then a rise of nuclear families. Earlier joint family, the family is part of the work, but now that's not the case. Industrialization that need geographic mobility. So that led to weakening of joint family, and nuclear family become economic unit of consumption, and nuclear family become the necessity of the modern society. Apart from that, you can also talk about education and professional skills. We discussed this when we talked about Weber as well as Marx. So see, scientific education is replacing that traditional religious education, because you need large scale, skilled workers to get the task done, to get the things done, to have that efficiency and everything. So education now became primary avenue for work entry, and education became one of the most important sources of social mobility also. Now, apart from this, there is one more, that is capital concentration. You see, 1% of the Indians are, controlling, if we talk about Indian context, 60%, exact figure I don't remember, but still close to that, wealth. So capital is getting concentrated. Large corporations dominate the economy. Can you believe that Apple have Apple is bigger than, the Indian economy, right? Trillion capital, the valuation. Apple valuation is bigger than, I think, the GDP of our country. So large corporation, they dominate the economy, and middle class investors, they own shares but have no control. Control is by the managers, right? And main and most important point that we can discuss here is basically alienation in the modern work. So alienation is very much higher in modern society, industrial society. You talk about mobility, avenues of mobility, but alienation is higher. Workers lose the autonomy. Creativity is replaced with routine, the boring routine, and personal life and work life is completely separated. Monotony is increasing because compartmentalized, and you are performing the same task again and again. And the emotional satisfaction decreases. That's what alienation ultimately. And deskilling, your skill you are not able to show. You are a programmer, but no one wants your programming, when AI can do better programming than you without any error, everything. So still, some improvement is occurring due to technology, like work become less physically demanding, right? Earlier, this was not the scenario. It was very much physical. Now more of clean, safe environment you are getting. So mental alienation still persists, but these are things which are some kind of positive. You don't want to put that kind of physical effort, which you earlier used to do, right? And more clean, safe environment, better food, facilities are available. But still, again, when we talk about this, there are differences between developing and developed countries. So in paper one, we need to discuss this dimension also if you get a question. So when we talk about developed countries, you can add from your chapter 10 also. So developed countries are mostly industrial or post-industrial. So here, which sector is dominating? The service sector dominating. It is mostly technology driven, which is very much highly specialized, and high rationalization, There are strong bureaucratic system. But when we talk about developing societies like India, see, it's a dual structure. On one side, the traditional dimensions, the Jajmani systems and everything is going on. At the same time, modern system is also there. Agriculture is still significant, but at the same time, IT sector is also there. Informal sector is getting large, right? Uneven industrialization is what we see here, and mixed organization of work, right? So there are residues of feudal relation like Jajmani system, and then modern capitalist forms also coexist. So we will be discussing this in your paper 2, semi-capitalist mode of production or semi-feudalistic mode of production, right? That's how you can understand Indian society. There are elements of capitalism, there are elements of feudalism, right? So this is actually a mixed economy of labor, and which is very unique sociological feature which we see global south and very specific to India also. Now you may get related to globalization and work, right? So see, when you get globalization and work, you can mention like increased competition between countries, between firms, between countries. You can mention between firms also, because you have access to activities performed, so competition is increasing. The same logic, same concept that discussed by Durkheim in bands. When we discuss the theory of division of labor, people living in bands, when they have access to bands, then struggle for existence because competition increases. So here you consider countries as bands. Now you have access. Globalization opened the gates. So new markets and rapid technological diffusion, rise of global supply chains and outsourcing of labor. From US, you can outsource to India, get the things done cheaply, or Malaysia or any other Myanmar, such kind of countries, right? So get the job done cheaply, or China, and telework and online collaboration. So all these are changing the entire economic setup, the work culture also, and new forms of labor is coming, new forms of labor exploitation is coming in terms of low wages, labor migrations, all these are happening. So I hope you can write very good answer with all these points that we have discussed, right? So the point is, ultimately, globalization compresses time and space and accelerating transformation in work everywhere. It's permeating through each and every aspect of social life. So I'm expecting, if they want to innovate, if they want to ask a work-related question apart from the traditional one, the social organization of work in the societies, they can ask you globalization and work like that. Okay. So guys, what we discussed is, these are the things that you need to keep in mind. Work is no longer local. Ownership is no longer personal. Ownership is separate, control is separate. Managerial revolution. Productivity is no longer manual. Everything is automated. Managers now replacing owners in terms of control. Technology replacing skills. So that's what leading to de-skilling. Alienation is increasing. Mobility is also increasing. Corporations replacing the communities, right? And flexibility is replacing that stability, contract work and work from home, and then uh, outsourcing of work, etc. Efficiency is now replacing with traditions and obligations. So if you look at today's work that reflect the global capitalism, managerial control, technological rationality, alienation, social mobility, informalization, expansion of service and knowledge sectors. So guys, let me tell you, if you can write 20% of the points that I've mentioned, if you get a question, you're done. You don't want to have everything that I've discussed. If you can remember 20% of what I've discussed today, you'll be able to do good. Any question? These 2 sessions is enough. I think that we have covered everything quickly. So that's about the session. Thank you so much. And if you are looking for any classes on sociology, mentorship, personal mentorship, or test series, get in touch with us. I see you there.